Hey guys, thanks for joining in, and very sorry about the sort of the mix-up this week. The travel was kind of crazy, but at least we're here, so that's what's important. And what a week it was, really, for the game. That's for sure. Um, some very interesting turns of events, but exciting nonetheless. But before we get into all that, how are you all doing this week? Have everything's been going well for you guys? Australia for me was busy. I mean, it was the work conference, so it was quite long days, and then because of the time difference, I was. It was quite long days, and then because of the time. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, because of the time difference, we were waking up like 4 in the morning, bright awake, so it was a bit of a nuisance, but a good week. Then on Friday we had the flights, which were supposed to leave at midday. Then about, I don't know, 12 hours before that, the flights got cancelled, and then they got moved to 6 p.m. Landing at like midnight or something crazy. And then at the last minute, they got moved to just being an hour later than the original ones. So yeah, it was just a real mix-up, but we got through it. Anyway, on to the campaign, I guess. So last week was a very, very good turn for the Confederates and a terrible turn for the Union. We had General Ewell, who was striking from an. You had some Union forces defending, who he destroyed. Then you had the Union reinforcements who came around and sort of came in from the rear. But luckily for the Confederates, they were able to repel them. But it could have gone either way. It was quite a close run thing. Drink some whiskey and you'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, if I sound a little bit slurred this morning, it's just because of that. Not the whiskey, just the late night. But then they withdrew back to Front Royal. In the center, that was the sort of confusing big battle. So we had General Shields marching down from the north. We had General Fremont marching up from Harrisonburg. We had General Jackson marching south to try and attack Fremont. And then we had Confederate detachments marching up behind Fremont. So it was a real cluster. Ended up with the battle being fought mainly between Fremont and Jackson. The Confederate reinforcements did arrive later, but because of the thick fog that we had as our random events for last turn, the Confederate forces and the Union forces basically just blundered into each other. And yeah, it was a catastrophe for the Union forces under Fremont, who all got killed or captured, including Fremont himself. General Banks was coming along, but again, although they were doing a forced march due to the weather of the last 4 turns being rain, they were delayed slightly, so they would only have arrived at turn, I think it was 9, and so there wasn't the time for them to actually form up to actually go into battle, especially now that the Confederates were holding more defensive positions. So they just withdrew. And then over in the south, we had the orders from both sides to attack. General Johnson pushed out from West Augusta, and the Union forces came in against him. Union forces were soundly defeated, and so they withdrew back to Franklin with the Confederates in hot pursuit. Good to have you, David. Thanks for joining in. Hope all is well in Yorkshire. We're just doing a quick catch up, so just of what happened last turn. And yeah, I think that's pretty well. I don't think any generals died, just General Fremont getting captured. So it wasn't. Yeah, it was quite an interesting one. So that brings us on to this turn, and I guess we'll get straight into the dice rolls, unless anyone's got any questions about what happened or anything of that nature. Cool. If you do, just drop a message in the comments, and then as soon as I look up, I'll get to it. So we are now moving into turn 5. So this is going to cover the week or the dates between the 20th and the 26th of April. Initiative roll. Let's go for it. Confederates, again, maybe this dice is loaded because every single week the Confederates have won. Maybe next week I'll change it to a different dice just to see whether that makes any difference. Hey, John, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. But anyway, we've got a Confederate turn again with initiative. Initiative goes to the Confederates. and we'll change dice next turn, just in case it is loaded. Change dice. Still basking in the magnificence Joe Root scored. Nice. Okay, next up we've got our weather. So let's find out. Hopefully it'll be some good weather. It's been miserable, rainy, and foggy, kind of like New Zealand at the moment. Cool. So we've got a 10. Cool. And a 10 is, and we're in April, still light rain. So the rain is not abating. So that is going to cause a -1 to movement on the map here. And in the battles, it'll be a -4 to each of the units' movement distances. -1 to movement. And -4 in battle. Cool. So that's quite an interesting one. I guess, yeah, potentially. How many turns has it been now? This is turn 5, and I think it's been drizzling on and off for the last 3 turns. So yeah, the roads are going to be starting to turn pretty bad. Next up, we have got the historical events. So I've been thinking about this whilst I was on the plane, and although the historical events that I put in here, they're just more for a bit of historical interest, but also do have a few positives or negatives. I was thinking about it. We are running a game which is based in history, but is a what if, basically. We're changing history to a certain extent. So the historical events wouldn't necessarily play out as they did. So just reading through them, April 21st, General Lee sends instructions for Jackson and Ewell to attack Banks to weaken Fredericksburg. However, General Banks is now defeated. He's dead. And the Union forces are being broken. So probably that order from Lee probably wouldn't have come because it's already basically been done. If you have any counters to what I'm proposing, please just comment. So probably that wouldn't actually be necessary. Conflicting orders on the week of May the 10th to the 18th. There were conflicting orders given to General Ewell. I think Jackson sent him one set of orders, and General Johnson, overall commander of the Confederates at the time, sent him separate orders. So General Ewell basically did nothing because he didn't know who he was supposed to be following, whose orders he was following. So that one is still, I think we'll leave something like that in, but we might just do it as a random roll. On May the 23rd, Front Royal, the Union forces lost the battle, and then Lincoln, kind of panicking a bit, sent several divisions to be sent into Harper's Ferry to block any Confederate thrust towards Washington. And on June the 10th, after the loss of Port Republic, the Union forces started to retreat back. So some of them are kind of happening, like the retreat is already kind of in effect from this turn. However, the Front Royal situation, technically that's already happened once, but Lincoln worrying about Confederates coming through, I think we would move that up. I think personally in our world that we've created, with that situation occurring, most likely Lincoln would be like, we need to get some troops up there as a blocking force to stop them, or as a new force to go on the offensive. Also on, the week of the 11th to the 17th, General McDowell got sent over with I think it was a division. I've got it written down somewhere in here anyway, with a division that arrived at Manassas Gap. And so again, I would suggest that everything that's happened here would probably force the Union's hand and make them move faster. So I'm thinking that perhaps we do a random dice roll and see whether those troops arrive this turn, and if not this turn, next turn. And then if they haven't arrived next turn, then on the third turn, they automatically arrive. I'm thinking something along those lines. But yeah, what do you guys think? If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, then we'll do that. But yeah, that's just where my thoughts are at the moment. Cool. So historical events, as I said, for this week, what was the date for this week? We're on the 20th to the 26th of April. So it would be General Lee's instructions for Jackson to keep attacking Banks, but that's already done, so we'll kind of ignore that one. Definitely in American Civil War Zone, I've been scratch building hills and White Oak Creek. Oh, cool. That'll be interesting. Yeah. What scale do you play with when you battle? Are you 28, 15, or even smaller? John Clark, free turn. Yeah, free turn. Cool. Yeah, I would say probably this turn would be too soon for reinforcements to arrive. The telegrams would have gone back. The bad news would have been heard, and the plans would be getting into place. But it's going to take a bit of time to mobilize those troops. So yeah, I think maybe we'll roll next week, and sort of, I don't know, on a 5 or a 6, they would one of them will arrive. So we'll roll 2 dice, and then the following turn, which would be turn 3, if they have arrived, then they will arrive. That sounds good to me. Okay, let's write a note of that. Reinforcements. Next turn, 2 groups, 5 or 6 dice roll. And next +1 auto arrive. Cool, there we go. That sorts that out for us. Next up, we've got our random events for this turn. So let's roll first for the Union and see what they get. And we've rolled a 7. So this turn, no effect. Okay. No effect, 7. Interesting. The Union definitely seems to be getting the worst side of the dice rolls in this game, that's for sure. 6 mil. Oh, yeah. Ultra free. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, nice. I've got 6 mil Napoleonics, but not for the American Civil War. I couldn't quite face doing another 6 mil army. On to the Confederates now. We've got an 8. Scouting. The enemy has to deploy 1 brigade before you deploy. Okay, so that's quite cool. Yep, the Epic Warlord ACW. Yeah, that's what I'm using. So we've gone 8 scouting. So all that's basically implying is that our scouts have located one of the enemy units, so they have to deploy that first, and then we get to deploy around that. Luke, 6 mil and Epic. Yeah, nice. Cool. So that's going to be quite an interesting one. Now, for detachments, some of you are playing as Confederates specifically, and some of you are playing as Union. First up, we got the Confederates. What would you like, and where would you like it to come in, and where do you want it getting sent? I think we've got 1 infantry left. I think we've got 2 cavalry and 1 artillery, if I remember rightly. So yeah, what would you like? Where do you want it to come in? It can either come in at Charlottesville or Staunton, and it could be sent to support Johnson, could be sent to support Jackson, or it could be sent up to try and support General Ewell. Although now that we've kind of got distances on the table and we've got the bad weather, it's probably going to take several turns to catch up with any of the armies. Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave that with you to decide, Luke, and anyone else who's playing as Confederates. And as for the Union, again, we can have reinforcements now come in at Cumberland or Hagerstown. Ordinarily, both sides only get 1. However, seeing as Banks is now dead and Shields has taken command, he's got a special rule which is politically savvy, because he had quite a lot of contacts. So for 2 separate turns, he gets to get 1 extra detachment. So this turn, instead of 1, he gets 2, and next turn or whenever he wants it, instead of 1, they get 2. So that could come into play to help the Union forces rebuilding their armies, especially when the reinforcements come in the next couple of turns. So all is not lost yet. I like armies, not just brigades. What does that say? It's got a heart right in the way of the writing. Not just brigades or divisions or something. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree. I love seeing the 6 mil stuff. It just looks so good. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy playing the sort of more tactical brigade level games and regimental games, but just the big stuff just looks so much better. Infantry to left if Staunton. So that's Staunton. And so you want to send them that way towards General Johnson? I think that's what you're saying, Luke. But yeah, just confirm if that's right. So we're going to send the infantry across to Johnson. And yep, that's the one. Okay, cool. So we've got an infantry detachment for them. Let me write that down. Infantry. Where Staunton heading to Johnson. Cool. And then we've got for the Union. Did anyone have any thoughts for the Union? Or otherwise, I guess I'll make the decisions. Let's think. I would suggest that it would be most useful. Actually, everyone can sound in if they want. But I would suggest the most logical thing for them would be, seeing as they are crumbling and they are now withdrawing. I think I haven't checked what the random event, what the orders are for this turn, but they were all kind of implying some withdrawal or another. I would think probably getting reinforcements from Hagerstown now, more central. Coming down, they can support Winchester, or they could march along to Cumberland, whichever way they need to. Might be the way. And I would suggest that probably infantry and artillery. Two infantry at Hagerstown. Yeah. Yeah, starts to build that core of an army again. And then next turn we can get another one of infantry plus the artillery. And that will be, I think, all of the infantry for the Union detachment-wise done. So, okay, cool. We'll go for that then. Yep. So we've got Union 2 times in. At Hagerstown. And what would you like them to do? Did you want them to sort of defend this side of the river? Do you want them to try and cross over? I think there's a ferry crossing there, so they can cross that. At that point, they could go down to Sharpsburg and cross. They could head west towards Cumberland, or do you want them just to hold? So I'll leave that in your hands for now. Cool. And whilst you make your decision on that one, I will go to the whatever we call it, the options for this turn, and find out what everyone has been voting for, if I can find it. Okay, community. Here we go. Okay, so turn 4 options for the Union, and the winning choice is option number 4. And option number 4 was General Shields attacks Jackson in the center. So that's these ones attacking Jackson in the center, whilst the troops in Front Royal, which is these guys, cross the bridge. So they cross over and dig in. Our troops in the west withdraw north to fall back onto their supply lines to rebuild for a fresh offensive. So they are going to be heading north. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Cool. For the Confederates, who have won the initiative, we've got option number 4. Okay, so option number 4 for the Confederates is General Johnson is pursuing. General Jackson and General Garnett, who are in the center there, head north to engage Shields. Okay, so that works out. The Union are marching down and he's marching up. And General Ewell marches on Front Royal. So that's quite an interesting one. And David, you said to join the main Union army. Okay, cool. So they will be heading, I guess that's probably the fastest route. Crossing 1 turn, 2 turns. I don't know which way is the fastest. I think there's much difference there, to be honest. Maybe coming down south, they can cross over at Harper's Ferry, and then if the reinforcements do arrive next turn, they link up with them. And if the reinforcements don't arrive next turn, they just cross on themselves. Okay, cool. I think that works. Okay, so there we got our plans. So we've got the Confederates who are coming after our Union forces there. So we'll have to just roll to see if the Union evade or whether they are caught. And we've got a battle which is just going to take place here in the center. And again, we'll just have to, because they've got the initiative, they get the jump on them, but we'll just roll to see whether they get caught or whether they get out of there. That's not what I would do for shields. Attacking is going to kill them. I know. Shields army didn't really get damaged last turn, in fairness. Let me look up the numbers, and then we can have a look at what the distribution of forces is actually going to look like. Okay, so General Shields, he has with him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's got 8 infantry bases, brigades, if you will. He's got 1, 2, 3 artillery pieces or batteries, and 1 cavalry detachment, which is kind of a mid-strength. Yeah, I know. Our gander is up. I know, I think it's a risk. What we might have to do is go in, because the orders have been given that we've got to advance, but play it carefully. And if we look like we're going to get overrun, withdraw or play defensively at least. But he's got a pretty strong force. Against him, we've got Jackson and his reinforcements, which amount to 2 small cavalry forces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry brigades, who are all smaller than the Union ones. They've got 3 artillery pieces. So yeah, the 2 armies are actually pretty equal in strength. I would say the Union is actually slightly stronger overall. Yeah, I would say on balance they're slightly stronger overall, but there's not a huge amount in it. So it'd be an interesting battle. But I would say, yeah, for the Union overall, they're looking to sort of withdraw and get back into more defensive positions so they can get those reinforcements. So we won't push the attack unless they're winning, I think. Well, whoever's playing. I'm not sure if I'll be the Confederates or the Union this turn. We always take random opportunities. So we'll find out on the day. But if I play as the Union, I think I would be looking to be more defensive and get the army out intact if it looks like it's going pear-shaped, rather than trying to push and lose my whole army. Okay, so let's now see what happens with these other groups. Okay, so they are attempting to withdraw. There's no superiority of cavalry there. It is light rain, so on a 1, 2, 3, or 4, the Union will escape. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, so at Front Royal, I guess they're trying to cross the bridge, and so they're delayed as the Confederates who had the initiative come up, and so there will be a fight at Front Royal, although we may just do Front Royal. I think the Union is going to try and attempt to withdraw there anyway, so I may not fight the pitch battle. We may just roll the dice on the withdrawal table, take some casualties, but they'll get out of there. Over here, Johnson's force, again, 1, 2, 3, 4. The Union evade, but we'll see. No, 5 again. Okay, so we're going to have the same situation over there. And it's not going to be worth fighting a battle there because they are so depleted. So I think those ones we will just roll on the table, or I'll roll on the table afterwards, and then I can do the numbers and find out how many troops they lose in the retreat, basically. However, in the center, that's where the big battle is going to be. And sorry, I haven't been reading your notes. If being aggressive all through the campaign, yeah, that's the way. The Confederates have been doing really well. If Jackson looks like he's in trouble, pull back to Staunton. Cavalry should get, yeah, I think that's right. If things go pear-shaped, they definitely need to withdraw. Shields is all that's left of an effective field army. Yeah, I know. So if he can win, then that's going to really shift the balance again, because if he beats Jackson, then there's really not going to be much between these two armies. They're separated. They can march straight down, destroy Staunton as a supply depot, and yeah, the whole campaign will shift exponentially. Plus, if they get those reinforcing armies over the next few turns, yeah, still everything to play for. It's going to be an interesting one. And then we've definitely got the battle at Newmarket, so I'll just write that down. Newmarket. That's Jackson versus Banks. I can't remember, was it Banks who was like the only person to beat Jackson in the Valley campaign historically? I think it was. No, not Banks. Shields. Shields. I don't know why I'm thinking of Banks. He's dead. But yeah. Okay, cool. So there we go. We've got an interesting turn. We'll have one big battle in the center. Yeah, I think those other two, due to the nature of it, we'll just roll on this table just to see what happens, whether they escape without major casualties or whether they do suffer. So that's that. Yeah, we've got these guys here. So we were trying to get these guys over. So they're going to go to there. And these chaps are marching down. And so they are not quite able to cross over to Harper's Ferry this turn, but next turn they will do. Jackson will stand and send shields running. If the campaign carries on the way it has been, that's going to happen. But maybe I should play as the Union this turn and see if I can swing it round. Actually, no, in fairness, I played as the Union last turn and that went horribly. So maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should give it over to someone else. What else do we have? There's nothing else in there. I'll just check on the commanders and see if there's anything extra that they've got. Nothing there. Defensive. Defensive, field, charismatic. Okay, yeah, no, that's it. So, alrighty. That's going to be quite interesting anyway for the next couple of turns to see when and if those reinforcements for the Union turn up. What happens here, I think, is going to be actually very decisive for the whole campaign. Don't use those Union initiative dice for the evasion rolls. No, that's a good point. Yeah, we won't use those. I've got another one. I think next time I'll use that one instead. Let's just see. Let's give it a test roll. There we go. We got a 3, which is good. That's what we wanted this turn. So next turn we'll use this white one instead of the blue one. Okay. But yeah, any questions about what's happening? Any thoughts or ideas specifically around the Battle of Newmarket? Well, I think it's going to be the third Battle of Newmarket that we're about to have. Yeah, any thoughts, any ideas? Do you have any ideas as well on other historical events and stuff like that, which could have an effect on this campaign? Yeah, I think overall it's going pretty well. And yeah, personally, I've been really enjoying having all of you guys to collaborate with as we play along. Yeah, all your thoughts. Those scouts will come in. Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, I quite like having the historical events and the random events because it does add that friction to the game, which is kind of the unknown event that you can't really plan for. So yeah, it works quite nicely. At least we don't have the fog this turn. That killed me last turn as the Union. Yeah, not knowing what we were doing and then just blundering into each other. The way we did it last turn is because of the thick fog. If one side had cavalry, they were able to basically decide at which point on the table the two forces would meet. Whereas if you didn't have the cavalry, you were at the mercy of the enemy, so to speak, which is basically what happened, and we got caught with our pants down, basically. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this turn. I think this is going to be potentially a game changer for both sides, because if Shields gets broken, it does the opposite, and the center is then open for the Confederates, and then the Union are just defending, I think, until they can get all of their reinforcements on, and then it'll be one last roll of the dice. But likewise, if Jackson's beaten, it opens up that center and splits the Confederate forces, who can then get mopped up piecemeal by, at that stage, the much larger Union forces. So everything is still in play. McClellan grows a pair, and Lee needs Jackson at Richmond. Right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it'd be quite interesting to have a second campaign going along simultaneously over in the peninsula and see what's going on in that location. Yeah, because that could have a direct impact on what's going here. As it is, we've just got to assume, I guess, that they are going historically. But yeah, very interesting. Cool. Well, with that all said and done, we'll be having brandy and cigars in Washington. I know. Yeah, it's not far, is it? Just a couple of towns up and then jump over. Yeah. I always get told off for saying Maryland. It's Maryland, apparently. But we're nearly there, nearly going through. Cool. But until next time, guys, I think that's about it. And I will get all of the numbers ready for this battle, which we'll be fighting tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow afternoon. And I'll get the results to you as soon as possible. 7 days campaign. That would be cool. Next time, if we do a campaign, we'll have to see if anyone else wants to run something simultaneously, because like that, then the results could actually have an impact on what we're doing. That would be quite interesting. Real collaboration between the two campaigns, even if they're not directly linked, just the results of yours, for instance, could affect ours or vice versa. That would be quite interesting. We will keep that in mind for the future. But yeah, definitely let us know how the peninsula fight goes. But yeah, anyway, thanks very much, guys. I will not take up any more of your time today, but thanks for joining us. And yeah, to victory, I guess, for one side or the other. And I'll see you next week. Thanks all.